We'll begin with our first session, which is the Employable Skills Gap. Our first speaker is the Senior Executive of Governance at the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology. Her name is Halah Al Zadjali, and she will be speaking about the artificial intelligence and the future of recruitment.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everybody. And I would like to ask you first, did you have your coffee yet? Yeah? Great, because I need your total focus with me. I know this morning is a bit intense with all the traffic, but I would like to have your attention with me. Yes, perfect. So today's topic is about artificial intelligence and the future of recruitment. And first question I would like to ask the audience, how many of you is working in HR? Please put your hand up. Super. How many of you is working in IT? One. And do we have students here? Yeah? Only one? Two? Okay. Amazing. So for those who don't know me, my name is Halah Al Zadjali. I'm a Senior Executive of Governance in the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology, previously working in the ITA. And I was happy to see some of my colleagues yesterday. Dr. Sanem is a very well-known man and very inspiring person. I've been working in the ICT industry for the past 14 years. And I'm a graduate of Bajan College. And I'm continuing my studies in Universidad Politécnica de Madrid, and my specialization is in artificial intelligence in public services. I've worked with many institutes internationally and nationally, and one of them is very a well-known institute which is in Portugal, which I joined them in 2019, and that was in a fellowship program sponsored by the United Nations. That really sparked my love to research. So I started my journey from that point, and then enough about myself. Let's start with the topic. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce general ideas about artificial intelligence, the challenges in talent acquisition, and how do we resolve these challenges with artificial intelligence. Also, I would like to address the challenges with artificial intelligence in recruiting, and how to choose the right AI solution for your institute. And last but not least, there will be an exercise where I would like your participation. Okay, so with a little bit of statistics, 52% of talent acquisition leaders say that hardest part of recruitment is screening. And especially when you have a high density of application pools. 74% of companies admit that a bad recruitment would cost them a loss of $14,900, and that is a very high number. And that is according to careerbuilder.com. So what are the challenges in the talent acquisition? Of course, as you all know, that it takes a lot of time to hire people, and this effort is causing employers to, for example, if they hired the wrong person, they have to pay a lot of amount of money to just train them to upskill their skills, and then with the poor performance, that could affect the whole team, and things could go down to things that unfortunate. And what is AI for recruiting? Of course, AI is very trendy, and everybody's talking about AI and what is its role in the whole prospect, but how can we utilize AI in recruiting? Of course, AI is promising a high speed of recruitment, and especially with the automation of high volume tasks. The other point, the next point, which is using artificial intelligence in screening CVs. And the last one is with eliminating recruitment bias. And this is a problem which is more talked about in the Western world, where they're talking about racism and discriminations when it comes to recruitment. And that is against, minorities. One of the applications that is using AI is Vera. Vera is used by many companies for recruiting, and actually it's using facial recognition. It's using the analysis of your voice tone, and that is how the candidate is talking to a robot through the screen, and the robot itself is doing the analysis of the person, and then based on that, it can give him a specific rate if he's recruited or not. So this could be a little bit intimidating for people who are like talking to a robot instead of a person. So this is an image of people who are doing those kind of interviews where you see those dots on their faces, and this is a way that machine is going to assess you. There is another application called Deep Sense that is going to check your social media to rate you, and based on some emotional intelligence, just to check if you are suitable for the job or not. So imagine someone is checking your social media accounts on LinkedIn, Twitter, and so on, to see if you're fit or not. So you have to be careful. Of course, there are challenges with applying AI in recruiting. There is no perfect solution. There are a couple of challenges that I would like to address today, which is the shortage of quality data, and that is the clean data. What we need is clean data in the institute, if there is data. And of course, human biases could influence the artificial intelligence algorithms. And the black box AI. Black box AI is where you cannot trace the reason or the basis of the decision made, because especially with machine learning, it takes a lot of time to train the data to behave in a certain way. So tracing that could be a problem. The next point is how to choose the right AI solution for your entity. Of course, there are principles of trustworthy AI, and that is if you are aware of the AI systems policy that MTCIT have published recently, and it is to address those ethics, the inclusiveness, human-centric approach, accountability, fairness, transparency, and safety of the solution. Of course, the most important focus areas to apply those principles are data, models, and the experience of the users themselves. And that is the most important point, is to make it human-centric. Of course, there are questions to ask yourself before choosing the AI solution. For inclusiveness, did you include society to address the problems that they are facing, and then included that in the solution itself? Is the human-centric approach used? And that is by checking the desires of the people and not just influence based on the data that you have. Accountability is having the controls and knowing who is using and who is developing those solutions. Fairness, of course, is using the laws and regulations while programming your solution. Transparency of knowing the root cause, of course, of the outcomes and the decisions made. And last but not least, the safety, which is the security best practices, just to safeguard your solution. So, it's time for exercise. I hope you didn't sleep. Okay. So, let's take this example. Have you heard the term problem reverse engineering before? Anybody? Okay. So what's problem reverse engineering? It's doing the critical analysis of a problem that your entity is facing, and then seeing what is like breaking it into chunks, and then reframing it to a different problem, and after that suggesting a solution. And that solution could be different than the one that you have thought of at the beginning. So these are the steps that we're going to go through in this exercise. First, I'm going to explain the context of the case study that we're going to, and it's a hypothesis case. The next one is I'm going to state the original problem. Who are the stakeholders in this issue? And then sum up the needs and values. Then we're going to compare the original problem and reframe it again, and check the solutions and the possible resolutions to the original problem. So let's take the case of a company. Okay, this company is called XYZ. Okay, it doesn't exist, I hope. So XYZ is an oil and gas company. It has opened recently. It has 1,000 employees. 400 of them are females, 600 are males. And in the engineering roles, 10% of them are females, while 90% are males. So you can see that there are kind of a gap happening at that company. So the company stated their problem as the following: is to enhance the recruitment process to speed up the talent acquisition and promote more women in oil and gas engineering roles. So the company used artificial intelligence in terms of chatbots just to answer the job candidates' questions online. And after that, it used the CV screening just to speed up the process. However, the problem still exists. So what can they do now? The next point is with thinking of who are the direct stakeholders in this problem and who are the indirect ones. And here I would like to get your feedback on the ones that I have found. In this problem, we have the XYZ company as a direct stakeholder. Of course, the Ministry of Labor or Manpower, the citizens themselves who are looking for jobs, of course, the job applicants and the policymakers. And who are the indirect ones? All of these. We got the Ministry of Higher Education, we have the universities, we have Ministry of Education, the students themselves at schools, and many, many more. We take those stakeholders and then we put them into the sentence to make sense of the problem. We take the stakeholder and then we check the need of that solution and because of what. So, for example, we took those direct main stakeholders, okay, and we have stated those sentences. For example, Ministry of Labor needs a way to increase the number of employments in the oil and gas field. Why? Because it needs to decrease the unemployment rates. The next one is Ministry of Labor itself needs a way to be transparent in sharing employment data. Why? And because they want to be more transparent and to improve the trust of the citizens. The third point is the Ministry of Labor needs a way to encourage more women in the oil and gas field. And that is because they want to empower women. Let's take the next stakeholder, which is the company itself. The company itself needs a way to increase the number of females in the oil and gas in the engineering roles because it wants to promote gender equality. The next one is they need a way to optimize time and cost in recruitment, and that is because they want an efficient solution in resource management. The third point is XYZ company needs a way to improve selection process, and that is to improve decision making and hire the best talents, because of course they have competition in the market. Okay, what do the citizens want? And here I'm talking about a human-centric approach. Citizens need a way to improve user experience, and that is why they want an easy way to use those websites to apply for jobs. And that is because they want a better user experience with the job applications. Citizens need a way to get real-time employment data and statistics, and that is to improve the transparency and inclusiveness. The citizens also need a way to understand in-demand jobs in the oil and gas fields. And that is because they want to choose the best specialty when they're doing their higher education. So if we compare the original problem that we had at the first place, okay, and we have, I don't know, it's not working. Okay, if we compare the first problem and then we checked if those sentences that we have found out is is stated in the original problem, we'll find out like not all of the points are addressed and not all of the challenges are addressed. Okay? So if we came to reframe the problem, you see that there are differences. The reframe problem is stated as following. The company needs a sustainable time and cost-efficient solution that is going to enhance the talent acquisition in the oil and gas in engineering field, and that is to promote the gender equality, transparency, trust, user experience, and resource management. So, what are the possible solutions? I have addressed a number of them, and I'm sure that you have more ideas that you can suggest. The first one is specialized training, and that is the programs that is given to the public or the employees at the company. Of course, there has to be some awareness about the gender equality within the company itself, and that is through the programs and the campaigns. The company could sponsor some scholarships for women in the engineering field. Also, there has to be some kind of policy making, and that is by smart resource management policy. Because, of course, if you're using an artificial intelligence solution, there will be a kind of disturbance with the way that HR employees are working. So you need to plan it ahead of time. Of course, there has to be an engagement with the academia itself, with the universities and colleges to, for example, introduce more curriculum or related subjects at the university itself. Of course, if you're using AI to resolve the problem, you can use it to automate the repetitive tasks of HR, like for screening the CVs, for example, to assess the perfect candidate for that job, and source passive candidates where it can check, for example, ahead of time the social media for the right candidates for your job. And this is a proactive thing. Of course, one second. It's moving ahead. Okay. Of course, you need a user-friendly application that is going to be used for the job applications. And you need to share the recruitment reports for the public for them to know which are the high-demanded jobs. And I would like to close my presentation with this quote by Lord Kelvin, which says, "What is not defined cannot be measured. What is not measured cannot be improved. And what is not improved is always degraded." Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much for that, Halah. Before we move on to the next speaker, I just wanted to see if there were any questions anyone would like to ask on this presentation. We have a question over here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's not a question, but it's a comment on the solutions of your case study in attracting women in oil and gas sector. We would recommend also improving the resources and facilities for women in oil and gas fields, because I came across communication with my brother-in-law who works in there, and he was feeling pity on a lady who was there for 3-month period alone, and she wanted to use the recreation room freely, so he gave her the key to stay there at night when everyone was sleeping, so she could vent out. So the facilities and resources with the number of ladies together grouping in those areas would facilitate this. And something could be social, but I won't go into it. Because I was asking him, why you didn't take singles from both genders so they just like mingle, they build a relationship, they marry each other, they go together to Muscat and go back to their homes and go back to workplace together. It felt silly maybe to some of us while we were discussing, but it is a challenge for a lady to leave the house for 2 weeks. And for me, when I discussed with DOCOM management, like, try to take singles more than married people, or take the couples together to facilitate the move of ladies to those areas. It could be there one day. Thank you very much.
It's a nice project, 2 in 1, like the marriage and the job itself. Perfect. That would be perfect in a perfect world. Of course, the example that I have given could be applied in any industry. It doesn't have to be in the example that I have used. You could have another problem at your organization and maybe use the same technique just to find the right solutions. Yesterday, if you have heard that there was a panel discussion and they don't know where to start, and maybe using this technique to analyze a problem, and the problem could have another solution that is not even related to technology. Like you can save many you can save costs even with thinking of the simplest thing, solution to the actual issue.
Nasser from PDO. It's fantastic, really, I like this. It's always a hot topic. We discuss a lot in this area. And I think the most which I could say, there are good programs already that are evolving it. We do have programs like diversity and inclusiveness, which really we are pushing on having the gender equality in one way or another. I think there are other areas where I could emphasize on the culture changes. I think things have evolved for quite some time, and they're evolving aggressively. Today, if you look in PDO, we do have, ladies, young ladies, graduates who are working in interior, and they play a vital role to support, areas in production, optimization, and so on. It will take some time. We understand. I think our culture is a bit different. But I think with you guys as new, young, energetic, and what I see that evolution is already happening. How long will it take it? Take it as an opportunity. I think these things are happening. Currently, if you look at it, in my team, I've got almost 80 people in my team. Almost, you're talking about, 65% are the ladies. And you could see on the future skills, especially on advanced analytics, the AI, the ladies can do multiple tasks. I'm not degrading the men, I'm one of them. And there are areas where I could see they could evolve very quickly and aggressively to capture it into the future skills. But also, I just want to emphasize, you could see the role of HR. Currently, the decision making is always the line, especially if you talk about the technical competencies. And I'm seeing with the future skills, this is my opinion, the HR will be shrinking it. Or HR of today may not be able to respond into the future. So you need to have the business entity people who not only facilitating the workflow, is mostly become a decision maker on selection of the candidate. So I could see automations will take most of the job, especially in these areas. I could see AI in terms of selection, as what you said, could play a bigger role. And the dynamic really is happening, and we need to prepare ourselves, because if we don't prepare ourselves today, you may realize you have got a legacy of people where they cannot progress, they don't see the end of, the light at the end of the tunnel, and we need to manage it really careful on these paradigm shift. That's my general comment.
Thank you very much. I would like to address one important point. When I reframe the problem, it's not the main objective is to have a dominate area where we put women more than men or have an equal number. And that is not the thing that I personally believe in. I believe that everybody deserves a chance, male, female, or, I mean, from any background they came from. The main thing that you have to have the skills that is suitable for the job itself. And this is how AI can help us to make the perfect decision making, and that is by the skills that you have.
Thank you very much, Halah. And if there's any more questions, we'll take them at the Q&A section just before the coffee break.
Do you think AI technology will be able to underestimate if the candidate saw its organization without emotional intelligence? And do you think psychologists are required in the organization since emotion occur changes depending on the environment?
Okay, very quick questions, and I have a long answer for that I don't think that I have the time for. But of course, when you're programming an artificial intelligence solution, from my studies abroad, we have learned that psychologists are in have to be in the loop, and also philosophers also, not only technicians. So the beauty of the scholarship that I have, that it's not only IT specialists in that. You can find people who are accountants, lawyers, people who are not even aware of how to do the simple programming, but their feedback is always, and their talent is always appreciated. So I hope that universities would consider such talents when bringing those programs, AI programs to the Sultanate, inshallah, soon. Yes, I totally agree. It's a part of it. Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And in terms of women as well, I think it's proven that when a woman is working and has an income and an education, they add more to society than male does. So that's also a very good reason to try to increase the women in the oil and gas industry. For those who put their hands up, who said they were in HR, when we have the Q&A question later, it'd be interesting to see how many of you are actually using AI in your recruitment process and what your experience is, or if you haven't used it, is there a reason why not? Or maybe you are using it and you don't actually know.